leaves are still drying, so I thought I could do just a few details in the middle of the flower. And I've got some kind of that dark pink that I used for the shadow. I'm going to take some of that. I've still got some of that left. And I'm going to put that in the middle. I'm going to turn this so I don't take any chance of putting my hand on those wet leaves. And I'm just not going to fill it in completely, just going to put a little bit of pink accents in there. And because I'm also going to put some brown in there too. Seems like a hodgepodge of stuff, and it is. But it'll look alright. Just some random areas of dark pink. Then I'm going to put some random areas of burnt umber. And then at the bottom I'm going to emphasize this area in here at the bottom with some sepia. Okay, I think that's enough. Now I'll go to the burnt umber. I'm just using a small round brush. I'm going to try to turn it this way some and just not put my hand in it. Pretty dark. I will emphasize the darker brown to maybe go underneath some of these yellow petals. Because some of these watercolors are somewhat transparent. Now that dark pink did have the shell pink in it, which is okay. You're going to have kind of a combination of colors coming at you in here. Be able to see a little bit of all of them. You may have to darken it up some more later. You can just keep looking at it. One thing I do is take it and set it up somewhere and then step back from it, and you can see a lot of what you need to do by getting a little bit of distance instead of being right on top of it all the time. It's kind of hard to see where you need to make corrections. It's not really dark enough, so I'll probably put a little sepia in there or maybe darken the brown up a little bit. It's time to start putting a little of the sepia in there, just a small amount of that up at the top. I'm really going to go around the bottom, these bottom edges here. Put some under those dots of masking fluid too, so when you take them off they'll really show up. This is sepia now that I'm using. A nice dark color. And we'll probably work on this some more when we do all of the details. Hard to see it right now, I'm right on top of it. If it gets too dark, you decide it's too dark, you can always lighten it up. Just add a little water to the top of it and dab it with a paper towel. I better stop on that. Remember, it will dry a little lighter. Okay, until I can get in there and study it a little bit, I think I'll stop. I'll wait until this dries and I'll see if it needs to be lightened up any. and I will continue to work on the details on these little flowers here, these florets. I'll probably put some more brown in there and then soften up the edges a little bit. I'm starting to do it now. I was a few minutes ago. Trying to soften those edges up a little bit. That needs some more work. Okay, so now we've done that, we'll get ready next to do these background leaves, and then we'll start putting the details on the leaves. I've gone ahead and done the 3 background leaves here, and now it's time to do a little bit of shadowing and lifting so that we can start seeing the veins and some different details on the leaves. First thing I'm going to do is do a technique called lifting. I like to use a flat brush, and if it's not stiff enough, we'll see how this one works out. But if it's not stiff enough, I have a backup that I can use, and I'm going to wet it, and I'm going to get the excess out. It's hard to see your vein lines now. I can see them well enough. You can either use your reference photo to help guide you, or if you absolutely cannot see them and you feel more comfortable, you could actually put your tracing back down on top of this and retrace with your graphite paper and retrace these lines. But I can see them well enough, and I'm using my reference photo, so I know basically where they're going to be. So I'm going to just run that with a little bit of water, not too much. And I'm rubbing it, I'm pushing down, and I'm wiping off the excess. And you can see a vein start to appear, a lighter area start to appear here. Now if it turns out that this brush is too soft, or the one that you're using is too soft, then you can switch over to a stiffer one. This would be my backup right here. It's a little bit stiffer. So I'm going to just have to keep working this for just a few minutes. And if you want, sometimes you can dab it with a paper towel. That helps lift it up faster. You can lift out as much as you want. Let's move on to the next one here. We've got one approximately right here coming out. The darker the color, obviously, the better it's going to look, because you've got more paint to lift up. That one's looking real good. All right. And we'll come over and do this one. Actually, this leaf in the reference photo is a little darker, but to save time, I'm going to go with it the way it is. It's a little bit darker green. I might have considered putting another glaze on top of it to make it darker. This brush is a little soft, but it's working okay. This one down here has 3 veins. Let's just try the stiffer brush just to see the difference. That works a little better, I think. It doesn't hold as much water though. It's a nice, easy way to make veins. There's a small one right here. And we've got a larger one over here. Let's come down and do this one. I need a little bit of a bigger brush for this long vein, so I'm going to switch back to this one. Also, you can lift out places that are lighter. I'm going to turn the brush to the longer side now, and I see a nice big area here. I'm going to lighten up a little bit, sort of a highlight. That will indicate that the leaf is not completely flat. I've got it turned the other way. Need a stiffer brush for that one. There are some very stiff scrubbing brushes that you can use. I've got a couple of them, but I don't use them very often. Let's go over to the last one. This leaf is pretty light already. Okay, that's good. Now we're going to go ahead and mix up some dark green, a little bit darker, and start putting some of the dark shadowy areas on them. I've got to let these veins dry out just a little bit, but to accent them a little more, I'm going to run a dark green line underneath or on one side, and that will make them really pop out. Well, let's work on some of the darker areas for just a few minutes. I mixed up some Hooker's green with ultramarine blue, and if it's not dark enough, then we'll go to adding a little bit of Payne's gray. We'll see. We know it's going to be dark underneath these flower petals. I'll have to see when it dries if it's dark enough. You can always go over it again if it's not dark enough. This is not a real small brush, but I'll see if I can go ahead and accent this at this point if it's dry enough. See how that makes it pop? I'm going to try it up here. I may have to soften those edges some. See if we can soften that up a little bit. Remember this underneath here too, when we've got some pretty heavy shadowing under this leaf here. These leaves attach to the stem in not a real normal fashion. They're called sessile, so I've got to fix this here. They actually mean that the leaf base sits directly onto the stem, and there's no little, what we call a petiole, a little short stem attaching it to the main stem. So I'm going to have to put a little stem in there. I probably should have moved that leaf over right up against that stem to be the most accurate. All right, let's add a little accent on this one. Also, before, when I did these three background leaves, I put a little bit of light green. This is a flower bud here. I put a little light, very light green, almost yellow on that one, and then I put a little darker green on the one side. We will paint the background in part 4, which will be the final section of this painting.